This is the Coin It Podcast, sponsored by CoinCosmo.com. Have fun like a collector. Think like an investor. Whether you're just a hobbyist or looking for an alternative investment with rare coins, paper money, NFTs, or art, your host, Charles Jonath, is covering it all. Now your host, Charles Jonath.
So, dude, I'm glad I get to talk to you finally.
Yeah, this is great.
This is good. I mean, we've seen each other at shows and stuff like that, but we haven't really got the chance to sort of sit down and talk and do this. So I'm glad.
We almost did in Vegas, but then you thought you had COVID. So that was
I did have COVID.
That's you did have COVID. Yeah. So even better reason to not.
Oh my God. It was horrible, but I don't want to get into all that because that's a whole other discussion. But dude, I'm curious. Like, I want to know because I've seen you at the shows and I want to say like you're relatively new. I feel like you got back into the business, and I know you took you went out of the industry for a while and you stopped collecting, and then it sort of like your passion for it, you came back eventually, and then now you've gotten into collecting again. And then it seems like you're doing this a lot now. Like, are you a dealer full time, or do you have another job, or?
Not yet. I'm new but old in the business, and I'll tell you about that. And I'm not yet full time. I do have another job. I have kind of two parallel universes going on. 95% of my time is spent with a tech startup based out of here in the Bay Area that I started about 3 years ago with a couple of folks, and I love it. It's great. I spend a lot of time with it. It's a really, really wonderful way. I'm sort of a tech guy through and through, and have been my whole life. So I spend 95% of my time on that. But I think it's really important for people to have outlets and hobbies and things that they do to keep their brain. I think in anything you do, if you're a full-time coin dealer or if you're a full-time tech executive, it's really critical to have kind of, some balance and an outlet and something that is completely different from what your normal day-to-day role is. So, I spend, a lot of evenings and several weekends here and there doing coin stuff, and I absolutely love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. That's great. So you got back into it. You reignited your whole interest and love of coins. Like, did you start young with coins, or how did that all come about?
Yeah, I'll tell you the story. I remember it. I remember the day that it happened. I used to go to Cape Cod with my parents over the summer. I grew up in New York, and I remember I walked into a newsstand once. This was the summer of 1989. And, there was like this stationery store that sell newspapers and magazines. And one of the fun things to do as a kid, a 10-year-old, is wander around and kind of read random magazines. And I remember this one magazine, I remember it as clear as day, had a picture of a big quarter on it, like a Washington quarter, like we all know. And it said, do you have a no P quarter in your change? The 1989 no P Washington quarter. That was this big deal. And I remember picking up the magazine. It was a coinage magazine. It was summer of 1989. And I remember picking up the magazine and flipping through it. Like, what is this all about? And that was the moment that it happened. And I remember reading about it and reading cover to cover, as a kid stuck on Cape Cod, you kind of, look for anything fun or interesting to occupy your brain with. And I remember going through it, and that began it, that it all started there. And I really quickly kind of dove in. I'm not a person who does things particularly, half. I'm a whole measure kind of guy. Right. So I remember I dove in pretty intensely after that, and joined a local coin club. I grew up in New York, so I joined the White Plains Coin Club.
Wow, very cool.
And which I think is not around anymore. Started going to coin shows, started going to the Young Numismatist program at coin shows, run by a wonderful guy named Larry Gentile, who passed away a few years ago, relatively, but he was around for a while. He was great. And, and that just began an obsession. And it was as I watch a lot of the YNs through Instagram and everything get involved now, it's the same thing. Although everyone seems to have way more money now than I used to have when I was a kid. That's the one big difference.
It's true.
I remember I got a Morgan dollar that was like huge. I got it was like a major deal for me. And now I see, guys my age, men and women, boys and girls my age, dealing with thousands of dollars of coins.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. Like I remember that too as a kid. I would look in, because I was like, my stepfather was in the business, and then I would go to all the coin shows with my family and stuff like that. So, and then I would look at the old heritage books, like from those coins that were in auction, and I would just be like, wow, this is amazing. Like, who owns these coins? They're so expensive. And to think now that I'm one of those guys who owns these coins, it's pretty amazing. It still blows my mind. You know what I mean?
I completely 100% agree with you. And for me, getting back into the world, which this happened, back call it about a year ago or so. I actually went with a very good friend. He called me up. He said, hey, I found an old coin collection. You were a nerd. You used to collect coins, didn't you? I said, yes. Yeah, I did. He said, I found my old coin collection. I'm going to go sell it. There's this coin dealer down on Lombard Street. We're going to go. So he and I hopped in his car one afternoon, drove down to Witter Coin on Lombard.
Oh, sad.
He walked in. I had not walked in that shop before. And it was like this flood of memories came back to me, and I looked at all these coins and I saw all this stuff, and he just went through his whole collection. And it was funny. He sold his entire collection, and he ended up buying a 1906 S $20 Liberty with the whole thing. So he got, about $2,400 worth of stuff.
Smart consolidation into quality.
Yeah, exactly. It was fun.
That's a good thing to do.
As he was sitting over in the counter, going through all of his coins with the guys there, I just was browsing around the shop, and I was talking to one of the guys, and I just remember, it's all started to come back. I looked at, the only big difference, by the way, was there were these green stickers all over all the slabs. And that was very strange for me to see. I had no idea what those were. So I got a quick education about what CAC was, and learned all about that.
It's added a whole other element to our industry.
Whole other element, right? Yeah. But it was great. And I remember one of the guys, I think it was Lewis at Witter, said to me, he goes, hey, you really know a lot about this stuff. And I said, God, I have not accessed this part of my brain for 30 years. But it was really fun to kind of get it back going.
That's very cool. That's so interesting. So this is like you're talking Lombard Street. This is relatively recent now.
Yeah. This was about a year ago. Yeah, wow. About a year ago. Maybe more than a year ago. Actually, it was probably about a year and a half ago that first happened. And then what happened was it sort of rattled around the back of my brain. It's like, wow, coins are cool. I forgot how much fun I used to have with it. They just kind of, and I said, okay, maybe I'll do the same thing. Maybe I'll gather all my old coins together and sell them all and buy a, Liberty $20, which is something, speaking of your point of dreaming up, I had never owned any gold, that was like so far out of my range, right. When I was a kid. So the idea of just owning, a St. Gaudens or a Liberty $20 was just like magical to me. So I started making a list. I said, okay, if I could sell all my stuff and get these coins, what would it be? And I kind of made a list of all the things that I would love to get, my kind of hit list. And, it just kind of escalated from there. And I don't even remember exactly. I think I found Instagram, and I think I went to a coin show, and this, sort of snowball effect started happening, and culminated in the real trigger that sent me down the spiraling, descent into madness of wonderful madness. Was I read some thread on Coin Talk or one of the forums, which someone said, hey, if you really want the experience, you should set up at a show and sell some of your stuff. So here I was with this old collection of stuff that was, in my bedroom for 30 years. I'd gone home to visit mom and kind of go through everything, and found my old slab box, which I'll tell you about. That's a whole other story. That's fun. And I said, well, I could go and sell this to a dealer, and get, wholesale buy prices, or I could just go get a table at a coin show and try to sell it myself. That sounds like it could be fun. Interesting. And so I called up Peter McIntosh of McIntosh Collectibles.
Oh yeah. The McIntosh family.
And by the way, he'll tell you this story. He's like, God, I remember you called me up. You're like, hey, I'm thinking of setting up for the first time. And he had one table left, and he's like, yeah, I can give you this table, and it's a couple $100, show up and see what you can do. So I spent the next month basically like obsessively preparing and planning to show up at the Sacramento Coin Show. This is last summer. And I was like, well, I got to get I don't have enough coins. I mean, I have some, but I don't have nearly enough. So I ended up just buying a lot and learning all about, the pricing and everything, and showed up at this show. And I had, a modest selection. It was not an impressive selection, but I sold a couple coins, and thus began the
journey.
That was it. I was hooked.
It's funny that you meant, what happens with a lot of collectors, is eventually you have enough coins and you're like, oh, well, I want to buy more coins, but I kind of need to part with some of my other coins if I want to buy these other coins. So you just start selling coins, and it just happens. It's like this process that just happens. All of a sudden you're like, boom, wait a second, I'm a dealer.
Yeah, exactly.
People start coming to you. Hey, I got these coins. Do you want them? You start buying, and before you know it, you're a dealer. That's like how a lot of guys get started. They started like yourself. Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's so fun. And, I've made a bunch of really, really fascinating and wonderful connections, and made some really great friends just from doing the show circuit. You and I have seen each other at shows. There's sort of a circuit. I now am doing the Bay Area shows. I do the Sacramento show, the Sunnyvale show, Concord, all the sort of local Bay Area shows.
Right.
There's sort of a circuit, and you start to see the same people every time,
all the
obviously.
time. Yeah, right.
And, you start to realize that like some of these folks are really great. And, some of them are cranky old coin dealers, who aren't really interested in being friendly, and you learn who those guys are pretty quickly. But I've sort of gravitated to a couple folks who are really, really wonderful, and have become really, good buddies now.
That's so cool.
It's really great. There's like a community side to it, now they call you separately, and say, hey, I got a deal. Oh, well, here we go.
You want to be in on it, or what coins do you want? And everyone has varying interests. Like you, like myself, seem to like those really nice type coins, the pretty type coins. So like we have similar tastes there. Those are always great coins to buy.
I appreciate that about you, by the way, that, I think that I love anybody who's in the business. I think it's great. Like, I think there's a lot of ways to make money in the business. I think there's a lot of people will buy and sell, junk 90% and make huge amounts of money doing it, and love it. And, a lot of people do with modern bullion. And I think you and I have probably both found this, that you just kind of have to gravitate towards the stuff that gets you excited and passionate. Yeah. And I get excited and passionate by like awesome type coins or patterns or great rarities. Right. And I think part of, I'll tell you my experience with that. I remember when I was at a show, the first show, I managed to get a couple of GSA, Carson City dollars. And I remember that, like, what people do when they come to your table with commodity stuff is they just kind of fire out, like, how much are GSAs? They don't want to look at them. They just want to know, like, what's your price on the GSAs? And I'm not interested really in being like a commodity dealer. I'm in a room with 30 other guys, men and women, obviously. I'd like to be unique, and I'm sure you would too.
So the thing is, like, even in our realm of numismatics, there's wholesale guys that just do wholesale. So they'll buy like tons of slabs and quote you a price relative to, like CDN or something like that. They'll be like, I'll pay you, 80% of CDN or whatever it is, whatever the quote is, but so there's guys that just do that. They just, they go out there and they buy wholesale deals. That's not really like what I do, and I see, like, that's not sort of what you do. You kind of find your interest. You have the coins per a period of time. You appreciate them, and then you reintroduce them to the market, and someone else can collect them and enjoy them.
Exactly right. You bring up there's 2 points I want to pull on there that I think are cool. One is, I agree with you, like finding the interesting stuff and not doing the wholesale. I found that one of the things I really didn't like was I bought a couple common date, MS63 pcgs St. Gaudens, which, by the way, was exciting to get them. I loved having it, but I found that, like, I was caring about the day-to-day movements in gold and, spots up. So, my saints are up, or spots down, my saints are down. And I don't I didn't enjoy that part. Like I didn't enjoy, having commodity items that, I was, moving with the waves of the market. I think it's much more fun to get something. Now, look, there is a market in everything. Like,
Sure,
1909 SVDBs are going up and down with the coin market. So,
right.
that is obviously happening, but that's a market I want to play in. I'm not interested really in being in the like day-to-day, markets of commodities basically. So,
yeah, a lot of people like, we had the coin store in Northern California, which we still have the coin store, Alex and Son Coins.
Yeah.
But we were doing a lot of bullion there, as like a lot of dealers, I think, it's just part of the business. You just get involved and you start doing a lot of bullion deals.
Yeah.
And then it's a whole other side of the business. Like, I sort of started off like doing a lot of that in the store, and we would have to hedge things in the futures market and stuff like that. So, I mean, it gets crazy, and then you're trying to manage all that at the same time, and then buying and selling wholesale like that. But it's just not.
All fun.
It is. It's just a whole different thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A whole different thing. But then I started, getting clients really into coins and appreciating it, and asked me, like, what's the difference, like, between bullion and collecting rare coins? And you know what I found? The crazy thing is, like, I found out like a lot of people were coming into the store. They had an idea of like they wanted to have some sort of alternative investment, some kind of way to protect their money against inflation. But they all had like different requirements, different needs for exactly what they were looking for. And a lot of times, like, that's all people know is bullion. That it's just very simple for them to understand, because the market has an open market price. It's very easy to track your bullion. It's very liquid because it's not really coin. It's just another currency. So it's like having the dollars and then going and exchanging them for euro. I mean, you could walk into a store and get cash that day. Coins really don't work like that. It's more like real estate, where you have to if you have the right coin, you have to like plan for it. You list it, you get it in front of the right people, and then you market the coin and sell it.
Absolutely. Yep.
So but they have different, different timelines, different utilities, let's say. So, but a lot of times people they really wanted something like a numismatic, but they came in with the idea of bullion, and then vice versa. They didn't know, they wanted something that wound up being bullion. So they were right in a sense, but a lot of times they needed something more like numismatics, and they didn't even know it. So once they figured that out, then I started building clients and stuff like that. And then, now it's a whole other thing. That's sort of what I do full time, is numismatics, just these collectibles. And I help people to acquire collections and build collections over time, which they will eventually sell. But for the meantime, they're holding. And it's, the market's been very good.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you collect yourself? Do you have your own collection?
So I tried to collect, and it's very hard. Like this is one thing you'll find as a dealer. Whenever you start collecting, then other people will start to want your coins, and
I know.
you need you need to sell stuff in order to acquire. Like if someone calls me and says like, "Hey, I have this amazing collection," I have to buy it. Like, and that's happened. I've gotten contacts from private collectors saying like, you know what, I've spent some time collecting barber proofs, and I built this set, and I think I'm going to sell it now. So when you have an amazing opportunity like that, where you have incredible barbers and stuff like that, I have to buy the set. So then I'm parting with my seeded early proofs or Seeded Liberty proof set. You know what I mean? I have to free up now hundreds of thousands maybe in cash. So it's just, it just depends. I kind of go with the flow, but I appreciate all the coins. I mean, I really love patterns. I love the seeded stuff. I'm actually part of the Seeded Liberty Club. There's a club. And then there's also, I'm a part of the John Reich Journal Club. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great. I've not yet really gravitated towards like a specific collection that I'm building. Although I'll tell you, someone gave me a great idea at dinner the other night about something I'm going to work on. Other than, I think probably the only thing, I've saved 10 coins so far that I've handled that are in my little box of things that I'm not ready to sell. Mostly because my metric is simply like, would I be sad if I sell this? It's really as simple as that. Like I've got a bunch of coins that I was like totally happy to sell this, and there's a bunch of others that like I will be sad. And so I think about it now. But would I be sad if I sell this? Do I dread if somebody comes to my table and asks for a price on something? I just pluck it and I put it in the box.
Interesting.
And
okay. Okay.
The good news is that for me, it's important to look at them regularly and hold them and kind of remind myself of them, because then I'll get bored of them eventually. I'll get sick of seeing them and I'll get sick of having them, and then I'll be willing to part them. If they stay locked in the vault for too long, then I'll forget about them and I won't, and I'll never sell them. So I think it's important to kind of indulge and experience in the ones that you like.
No, for sure. Like I have my moments where I sit there and I appreciate them, but I had to have a real conversation with myself at some point. And then I tell myself, like, listen, I have to be able to part with these coins.
I know.
It just has to happen. So I had that real conversation with myself, and ever since then I've been okay. But you know, that it happens, man, because you really love and appreciate these coins. And if you've been into coins for a long time, how difficult some are to acquire. Like I've been fortunate enough to handle some incredibly cool, rare coins. And it's like, wow, but I have to sell them at the same time. If I did those, like, let's say I just had a bunch of money, I probably wouldn't sell anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just don't think it's right. I think the market is primed for a lot of growth. If other people from outside the coin world sort of come into coins, then, it's really, we'll have to start thinking about pricing coins again, because if you compare it to the art world and stuff like that, if you look at the historical significance of our rarities and numismatics and what they mean compared to the art world, there's a big discrepancy and then asset pricing. Agreed. So I think there's a lot of room for growth in rare coins. So if outside people come in, like they did in the late 80s, early 90s, right? Then, we're talking a whole other level of pricing.
Yeah. I mean, there is certainly, and what we're seeing, by the way, in the market recently is outside people coming in. It's not, I think there's some areas where there's sort of a speculative cycle, but I actually do think that there are folks. I mean, I sense it in just the interactions of the people that I have at shows. There are people who are young, who have not been collectors before and who are now spending, thousands of dollars on rarities. And it's great. And they're not getting it to go flip them on eBay. They're getting because they want them. I had a guy come up to me at Long Beach as we were closing. By the way, lesson for everybody. This is my little not so secret tip. Everyone likes to pack up at Long Beach on Saturday morning and leave to beat the traffic.
They're out. Yeah.
I made some of my biggest sales at 4 p.m. on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
It's just I understand the logic. You want to beat the traffic, but I don't know when 90% of the dealers are packed up. I had one guy walk in. He was a new collector. He's like, "Oh, I thought you guys were open till 6. Here it is at 4 or 5, whatever it is." And he shows up.
That's Saturday is the retail really day because people are off of work. They come in. No, for sure. Yeah. You know what it is? A lot of the dealers are doing business with each other. Yeah. So once all the deals are kind of done and they have their stuff worked out ahead of time, that's kind of it. Then they're out of there. You know what I mean? But
that makes sense.
But there is retail business, and and I feel like you see more of that. Like, I don't know, have you ever been to the Fun Show in Florida?
Not yet. I've not left the circle of California shows yet.
Oh, okay. Well, that's you got to do it. I'll be there. We have a table in July, but the Fun Show is amazing. It's a whole group of people you wouldn't see on the West Coast shows, and a lot of dealers that don't come to the West Coast anymore that used to come to the West Coast. I don't know, for one reason or another, travel becoming more difficult, and then them being like super picky about the sales tax stuff. I think it's alienated a lot of the East Coast dealers from doing Long Beach and other West Coast shows. But you get a new group of people, and then there's a lot of retail there. So you get a lot of people walking in who are genuine collectors that come to that show that, come from all over the East Coast. They either fly in or they do the I-95 trip and then come down to Florida for that. So, and especially the one in January, because it's nice there and it's cold up north,
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I think, for me, there's a whole leveling up. I've at the point now where going to Long Beach was a huge level up for me. I mean, as I'm sure Long Beach is just a completely different world.
It is,
from some of the more regional shows.
Right.
And some of the same faces are there, but just the amount of business, the amount of dealer to dealer business, and it's all happening there. It's just very different. I think that the next big level up for me is, it would be to be able to now go to some of the more national shows.
Right.
Yeah, Long Beach is the biggest one that I go to, but, go to the Whitman, going to, Fun, going to ANA shows would be really, really exciting. But we'll have to have a IPO or sale for the tech company before that happens.
Yeah, I hear you. I know. If you're not in the business full time, then that's incredibly difficult. But it's, these shows are a big learning experience. I think you learn a lot, just being on the bourse floor and then working with different people, seeing retail, what's selling, what's not. I mean, you get a really a good reality on pricing, and then where everyone's coming from, who's dealing in what, and then also where to find stuff. You'll find a lot of guys that specialize, and then when you're looking for a particular piece, then who to call.
Yep.
So
that these guys will have, this. Yeah, exactly. I think that's great.
Exactly.
That's neat. Yep. That's
there's whole worlds, like you and us, you and I are into the US type stuff. So, and then primarily we're in US, but there's a whole other world of international coins and foreign stuff, and then ancients even. And so it's cool. You get a bit of everything there, and it's a learning experience.
I talked to one of my buddies at the most recent show in Sacramento last weekend who deals in ancients, and he has started to dangle some of them in front of me and give me some of the history and tell me about that. And I definitely can see a future where I move into that. I think that could be really, really, really interesting. I'm not there yet. Obviously, there's a lot more to fill in my brain with US stuff first. I could definitely see something. There's a little bit of appeal. Some of the old gold, some of the Byzantine gold coins are kind of magical to look at.
Yeah, very cool. Well, it goes back to what you said. I think with all these different series, there's just so much to learn, and it takes a lot of time and effort. But at the same time, if you have to be into it, if you're really genuinely into it, you're going to sit there and you're going to take the time to learn, and then acquire all the information you need to. It sounds like maybe, I don't know if you're like me, but I tend to be obsessive about things. So once if I'm really into something like coins or whatever, that my brain is always thinking about that. You know what I mean?
I'm very much that way.
And then, there's so much to think about in the US market alone, with the different type series and who's doing what, and even grades. And now CAC has made a whole other layer of complexity to this whole thing. So it's I'll give you an example. Okay, here's a thought experiment, and this is interesting. I want to hear what you think about that. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's say I present to you a Seed of Liberty proof $50. All right, and I'm gonna give you a really nice 3 coins. One's gonna be a proof 65, one's gonna be a proof 66, and one's gonna be a proof 67. So now let's say you have money, you can afford a 66. Mm-hmm. Out of those 3 coins, what would you buy?
So I probably have a different calculus than you do. And I'll tell you the way I think about it, because I generally think about things in terms of transaction opportunity. Obviously I want interesting coins and I want beautiful coins, but if you presented me those 3 coins, I would probably ask you what your numbers are. First off, I would take any one of the 3. Just objectively speaking, because I think 65s and up are magical. I generally try to buy and deal at 63s and up. 64s are a weird grade because some 64s kind of have a problem that are it's like a glaring problem, so the grading companies give them the 64. 63s are generally fine, and I try to stay away from 62, 61, and 60. But 65 and up, I would probably be into it. So the way my brain works is I would say, well, I'd look at the coins. I wouldn't make a choice based purely on the grade. I would look at them. I'd look at eye appeal. I'd look at, general the general sense for, what it says to me when I look at it, how it speaks to me. And then I would look at the numbers. I would ask you where you are on the 3 coins. And I would look at the market on the 3. And I generally would gravitate towards, 1, 2, or 3, where I think that there's a financial opportunity. So
let's say
that's the way my brain thinks about it.
Let's say they were all priced appropriately, according to the market.
I don't know. If they were all priced appropriately, I'd probably buy all 3 from you.
If you could only pick one, let's say you only had the money for one.
If I could only pick one.
What would be the determining factor?
It's a great thought experiment. My gut is I would probably grab it. Again, I'm telling you, I'm giving you a little clue into my brain. I'd probably go towards the 65, because 65s are a solid, it's the gem. It's a gem proof. No one is going to complain about a gem. It's the minimum viable, awesome grade. It's going to be probably lower priced than the 66 or the 67. And the market for folks who are going to be interested in buying a proof 65 is probably greater than the specialty zone of collectors who are looking to get a 66 or 67, which is going to be much higher priced, which is going to, you're going to be having folks who are playing the registry game, which is great, but you get into very high dollar stuff. So given that, I would probably gravitate, if they're all priced well, I'd probably move towards the 65.
No, you're a sharp guy. You're going to do well in coins. So now let's now add CAC to that level.
Oh man, now we got a whole new dimension. So which one is? So this is the thing.
Exactly.
I have a whole long. I'm not going to share the whole long thing, but I have a lot of thoughts about CAC. I love it. I think I generally gravitate towards CAC coins because they are market. The market loves them. But I am not, and I refuse to let myself be a CAC purist. I think I own many gorgeous coins that did not sticker, and they're not, despite what CAC will tell you, they are not C coins.
Right.
Some of them are definitely A coins that just didn't sticker because there's a tiny bit of friction on the shoulder or something, or some reason that CAC doesn't love. By the way, there are definitely coins that are C coins that didn't sticker, rightfully so, for being C coins. But so I don't subscribe to the fact that it's CAC or nothing that I know a lot of folks subscribe to. I'll tell you, I have learned, my brain has kind of tuned to appreciate what CAC sees in their coins. I think there are a lot of stickered coins that a lot of people would call ugly. When I say a lot of people, I mean, sort of traditional collectors, they want a blast white dipped, perfect, calf bust half. And, CAC doesn't like that. They want original crusty toning. And I have learned to kind of appreciate that look because I know that that's an original look. When I first started, even when I was a kid, I said, oh, that's an ugly coin. That coin doesn't have, it's toned, it's garbage. But you learn that the difference between, there are, by the way, truly ugly coins out there. But I think there are, sort of elegant, original, crusty, nice, toned coins that some people would call ugly, but that CAC would give a sticker. So I've learned to appreciate what I like about that.
Which is very cool, by the way, but for CAC doing that, because, now with the whole restoration thing, I mean, it becomes a whole question. I'm curious to get your opinion on that because you're coming back to numismatics. Like now there's acceptable restoration if it's done by grading agencies. So like, what is that? Is that something that's hard to tell, or how do you look at that whole thing? And then what is your opinion on it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I have really mixed opinions on this. It's tough, right? Like what is acceptable? Like is taking an old toned coin and dipping it and getting, bright luster and blast white when it's clear that a coin like that would never, have really, if you look at I think someone had an 1807 draped bust quarter out there. That's like, it's like in an NGC 65 holder. I don't remember where I saw it, but, it's blast white. I mean, it's gorgeous, right? I mean, by all accounts of like objective eye appeal, it's shiny, it's got original luster, it's an 1807 quarter, it looks like a modern Washington quarter. But then there's the argument that like should a 200 year old coin like that look like it was minted yesterday. Is that the way that we want to represent our old coins like that? And so I think there's arguments, I think, in both directions. I hate to sound like an engineer when I say this, but I think in general, it depends. I think there are coins where, if there was a really ugly spot on the coin, a carbon spot that can be gotten off through, an acetone dip where there's no actual, metal being removed on the, right. Maybe carbon isn't the right, but, like a spot of external debris on a coin. And if you can dip it in acetone and there's no metal or no reactivity happening and you can get rid of an ugly piece of dirt on the coin, yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
So I agree with that. Yeah. That's to me acceptable.
Yeah.
But when you're using chemistry, I don't know.
Yeah. It starts to get, the line is so
with
fuzzy.
Chemicals and then removing, it's a fine line. Like a lot of people that, a lot of dealers dip coins and stuff like that. And I don't know. I think the grading companies have gotten better at, identifying what should be like details and then what was acceptable. And they actually do a good job. I mean, I have to say, pcgs does pretty good job at restoring stuff. I mean, I don't think they overdo it.
Yeah. I have sent 2 Morgan dollars to NGC for restoration. There were just 2, uncirculated Morgans I bought that had kind of big, ugly spots on them. And I sent them to NGC and they came back in nice holders without spots on them, and then no harm, no foul. Like, I don't think, they were blast white coins and they had very localized, like big, dirty spots on them. And
so on the app, did you write specifically where to address the issue? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
I just said, big black spot on cheek. and the coin came back and there was no more black spot on cheek. And so I was like, great.
That's cool.
Yeah. And in fact, I have one other experience with a restoration when I was a kid. This is with a coin. This is going back to the old days. I'll just tell you a quick story since we're on the subject. I remember this. This is, this would have been 90 or 91. This is a neighbor gave me a 1802 drape bust large cent. He gave me an envelope full of coins and he's like, here, this is old coins from my desk, have them, enjoy. And one of them was this like really nice 1802 drape bust. And I immediately spotted it as like, wow, this is a special coin. So I sent it into PCGS. This is, in the early 90s. So I was an OGH. I got an OGH back from PCGS and that I actually submitted. And I remember it was a VF 20 or 25. I don't remember. And I remember the conversation. I was talking to a dealer and he said, this coin has crud on it. I'm going to fix it for you. I said, what do you mean? He's like, trust me. And he cracked it out. And I guess he used blue ribbon or whatever it was at the time. I remember watching him. This is such a faint memory, but it's so clear. I remember sitting at his table at a show and he rolled a Q-tip over. And I remember him showing me all this dirt and garbage coming off. He just gently rolled the Q-tip over. And didn't, not a harsh cleaning. He just took dirt off the coin. The Q-tip was black after he did it. And he sent it back into PCGS and it came back and it was a VF35. So it upgraded either 10 or 15 points. Did not get a details holder. Looks great. I still have it. I'll never sell that coin. That is my OGH. That is a great story that's sitting in my vault, and it will never leave my possession as long as I'm around.
That's a cool story.
But that was a very early experience I had, and I don't remember thinking like he's not cleaning the coin, like he didn't rub it harshly, and destroy it. He removed
very
dirt.
Delicately.
Yeah, delicately removed dirt. One thing I do think that's interesting on this subject though, is that I think the grading companies are a little trigger happy with their fear of putting, clean coins in holders. I have seen a lot of coins that get details grades or questionable color grades, and I'm sure you've seen examples. People are like, I literally cut this coin out of a, US mint package and sent it directly to PCGS and it came back questionable color. So I think there's this fear that, that bad coins are going to get in the holders, and, they're much more willing to give you a details grade than they are to, put their reputation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame, toning is difficult, right? Retoning. Yeah. So like it could look good at one period of time, but then in 6 months from then you look at the coin, you're like, what the heck happened to it? It could be, and then if it winds up in a holder, then it's on the grading company. You know what I
Yep. So
it's
they
not
have
good
to be
for
risk
the
averse. I understand where they're coming from completely.
Yeah.
There was a one coin that made me sad, and I'll share with you the link after we talk.
Yeah.
There was a post on Reddit recently where somebody, just telling the story makes me both angry and sad. A guy had a Flying Eagle, 1858 Flying Eagle in a rattler with the little styrofoam. It's a very rare type of rattler with a little styrofoam around the coin to keep it from moving around. He cracked it out of the rattler because he didn't like pcgs rattlers and preferred NGC modern holders, which, okay, different debate, to each his own, but it's sacrilege to crack a Flying Eagle out of a rattler. And he sent it in. So this was an AU58 in a rattler. He sent it in and it came back from NGC Unk Details cleaned.
Whoa.
So he cracked a coin out from 1989 or 1988.
And it came back details.
And it came back clean details in an NGC holder. So
that's bizarre.
It's bizarre. And it also says to me, like if, clearly the coin was, if it was cleaned at all, it was cleaned in the 80s, is that really the definition of a coin that should have a details holder? Like, was something that maybe I didn't look at it in close detail, but like, is something that had, something done in, 30 years ago, worthy of, keeping it out of a straight grade holder? That one felt a little much to me.
I mean, I would tend, I've never seen the coin, obviously, but
yeah,
if it wasn't a rattler, I mean, I don't think there probably was nothing wrong with the coin, you know what I mean? But it shows you how subjective really grading is, you know what I mean?
Really.
So that's kind of, I think, why CAC kind of stepped in to sort of be the intermediary between these two big companies, NGC and PCGS, who John was both a part of, right? So it's interesting background story there. But I mean, it is good, and I think it adds a whole other layer to the industry, CAC. So I mean, we're trying to fix these problems in our business. It's just moving forward and then understanding what's quality and what's not. Like, you really have to read in between the lines, and I think look at coins that are just like very attractive for the grade that they are.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that was fascinating to me when in my, experience going into a coin shop for the first time in 30 years and seeing all these green stickers was, coming in as a complete novice or a novice again, even though, there was all this information in my brain, was what a racket I thought it was when they first explained it to me. I said, wait a second. You're telling me that everybody sends their coins that are already certified to this company, and then you pay them, and then they decide whether it's the right grade, and they put a sticker on it, and then the market value goes up. So this is win-win for everybody. It's like, this is insane to me. And I found it amazing. I still find it amazing. And I think it's brilliant and wonderful what they have done from a business perspective. I think it is an absolutely brilliant business that they have created, and kudos for that creation of that, because it's phenomenal.
Well, there's some things that, I think they do really well at, and then others, like, where it's not so. I mean, in early coins, I tend to go, I think the opportunity is more in coins that are not stickered, like early $50 and that kind of thing. But, for like Seated Liberty series and Barber series and in more modern coins, I think CAC does a great job. I mean,
I agree. And I think they're, and it almost feels like actually they're two different companies with like their gold standards and their other coin standards, and it's interesting to me that, it really, I mean, it's a series by series thing that, getting a CAC sticker on some, pieces of gold is, doubles the value of them and then some. And then there are other coins, like some Mercury dimes where, a green CAC sticker adds, $5 to the price of the coin, and a gold CAC sticker adds, $10 or $100 to the price of the coin.
Right.
So I just think it's interesting, the varieties that you see. But it's becoming, I'm also fascinated and love the fact that, in collecting, there are these little micro areas of collectability. And I'm enjoying learning and watching some of these. And some examples, the first thing that comes to mind, obviously, is that, there are people who collect gold CACs. I think they're great. I love them. It's exciting to see a gold CAC. I remember there was a gold CAC 5 or 10 Liberty at a heritage sale recently that sold for huge multiples over even 2 or 3 grades up, just because it was, a gold CAC gold. It was kind of an amazing thing. It's so rare to find undergraded gold. And so I like identifying these little areas of collectability, especially like, in paper money. We've been talking about coins a lot, but I'm actually into currency as well.
Interesting.
And, there are folks who collect type currency. There are folks who collect, within a series, you want to have a rare signature pair in a series. And there are folks who don't care about that. They just want, they want a certain note. And then there are folks who go and collect the serial numbers within series, so you want a radar note of a modern dollar, or all zeros, or all ones, or all eights, or something like that.
Right.
And I find it really interesting when people can kind of hone in on different areas of collectability where there's rarity and demand. I find that interesting and fascinating to learn about and see.
No, yeah, it adds another layer and helps grow our industry overall, which is cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you totally. So what is your plans, man? Like for the future in coins? Like where do you see yourself sort of in the next couple of years, and what do you want to do? Like what's next?
It's a great question. I've got a couple big things that I'm working on. Obviously, time is my limiting factor right now, because for the foreseeable future, I'm, dedicated to the startup. But I've got a nice little cycle going. I go to the local shows, I do Long Beach. And I think for the short term, that's a nice little cycle. I've got a lot of work to do to get, I'm a tech guy, and I don't have an online store for my coin business, which I think is wonderfully ironic.
You have a blog though. I seen you had a blog, right?
I do, but I have like one page on my blog that like says coming soon, more coin stuff. So, I think that's one of the great ironies of my life, is that, I spend my life, writing really complex software, and yet I do not have a way to buy any of my coins online, which is great. But so I'll fix that. Clearly, I've been working on a lot of stuff. I'm actually fascinated and really interested in AI and machine learning in terms of pricing, and I'm working on some stuff with building some models to learn about, to see trends in coin pricing and do stuff like that. And that is
difficult to do. Difficult.
Not easy to do.
So what you're going to run into, because I've been in this quite a bit. It's getting better, but you're going to run into data issues,
I know.
Just like anything else, when, the more data you give the algorithm, the better. I did a lot of statistic modeling and stuff in R and all that, so I'm familiar with it. But that's a big issue in our industry, is like the data's there, but then collecting it is very difficult, organizing it, cleaning it to get it to work with algorithms, one. And then two, the image. So like the way the coin looks makes a big difference.
Huge, exactly.
So it's like you need like a multi-level neural network to do this stuff for coins. And is it really worth it at the end of the day?
That's the question. Yeah. I will have an answer for you, I hope.
Yeah.
But everything you said is exactly correct. Like, I appeal. You can't just look at auction records of a given coin, because it doesn't tell you the whole story. You have to be able to look at the actual coin itself and have a judgment of, I appeal and that kind of stuff. And that is a hard problem to solve. Right. It's a hard problem to solve. Agreed.
So one cool thing you might want to look into is I always thought, doing, analyzing high resolution images and doing computer grading.
Yeah.
That may be, who knows? I don't know. I know Google's got a lot of open repositories and they do image recognition really well. You'd have to put time and effort and build a team and see if you could get down, computer grading, because that's a big problem, right? We go back to, we're talking about, it's subjective grading. You know what I mean? Like, what is can a computer really, and this is a bigger question, I think a lot of people are asking this in terms of AI, like, can a computer really grade coins? Or is that's something innately human?
I would say with absolute 100% certainty that a computer could grade coins. Absolute 100% certainty. But to your point, whether it's worth it or not, I'm not clear. You would need to have some pretty serious models. You need to train an AI model, a neural network model on an enormous amount of data, of accurate data of grades,
which is costly.
Yeah, which is hugely costly. I mean, just as I've spent some time looking at, general, neural network training. I mean, just to train a basic, image generation or image detection network, can be, $2,000 in
a day,
training time. That's it. That's like for face recognition stuff, so imagine, you have not only, different coins. And so it's a huge amount of work. I am 100% certain that it is doable. What I'm not certain is whether it is worth doing, because, there are some problems. The market isn't that big, and the humans are basically good enough. And unless you're planning on launching a grading service where, you think you want to outcompete PCGS and NGC, or if PCGS or NGC can't hire enough graders if they get so big. But I actually just don't think the industry is that big. I don't think the market is so big that they would, this is not, art or something where or even where there are billions of items. We're still in the millions of items or the hundreds of thousands, and the collectors probably are in that range as well. That I think it might not even be worth it to have a computer do it, but it's still an interesting problem to think about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if processing power gets cheaper, then eventually that'll probably happen. Mm-hmm. But it'll be worth it for these guys to get into it. I don't think the big grading companies are innovator. It probably is going to be a smaller company to come out and do it. And if they do it right, then, they'll get gobbled up. But I mean, it's for now, just, I don't know. I don't see it happening in the foreseeable future, but
I agree.
You never know.
I think when you think about, that's great. It's a great subject in and of its own, a need for a third party, another grading company. There are a lot of third-party grading companies, and a lot of them have tried to innovate in a lot of ways. And
it's hard. It's not.
It's hard. Yeah, and I don't know that it's a technology problem, right? I think fundamentally when it comes down to it, I don't know that if you launched, Vegas Coin Dealer Grading Company that with the best technology in the world, I don't know that is solving a problem that the market has right now. People, and so. I think, by the way, I know there's been a lot of chatter about industry veterans starting a new grading company, and I think mostly in response to the concern that PCGS and NGC have both been acquired or involved with private equity, and the prices are going to start to go up, and the quality, they may sacrifice things. So there may be an opportunity for a third-party grading company, but I don't think it's like we have better technology than I don't think that moves the market really.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I think there's other ways to innovate in our industry. And then my main goal is to try and, get other people from outside coins to look at coins for what they are and see a whole new world of opportunity, because I think, we need to sort of expand the reach of coins, if that makes any sense.
I agree. Yeah.
Because they serve they could serve a purpose other than, yes, you and I both love coins and we collect, and there's a whole group of audience that does that. And there's a group of people, right, who are very smart and who have, great wealth, have gotten into our industry very wisely. They've worked with really good dealers, and they've acquired phenomenal collections. Mm-hmm. And, that, and then there's new people coming in, even now, I know you're in tech and you got back into coins, but I also have some clients who are also in tech in the Bay Area who recently got into coins. And because they're in the Bay Area, they gravitate towards certain, they wanted to be involved in the gold rush coins, you know what I mean? The territorial stuff, because that's fascinating to them. They're in the Bay Area. They like seeing that San Francisco on the back of the coin, So there's slowly but surely there's new blood coming in that are building really incredible collections, working with the right people to acquire these coins over time as they come up. But I do think there's just so much room for growth on this stuff. What's going to happen is what's already happening, I feel, is that it's harder to get really good coin, like incredible coins, because there's so many of these incredible coins right now that are in other people's collections that they don't really plan on selling. I mean, just look at there's several collectors. I know Bob Simpson recently sold some of his coins, but like you have Hansen, you have the Tyrants collection. I mean, they're just incredible collections, and there's so many of these great coins that probably are not going to see the market for a while.
It's interesting, speaking about that, how dealers react to when truly great coins appear on the market. I at the Sacramento show this past weekend, I spoke to two dealers at the show, both who happened to get like very special, fresh, new coins. And they showed them to me. They both independently had the same response. They said, no, don't take a picture of this coin. Don't put it on Instagram. I don't want anyone knowing that this is out there. I don't need 100 people messaging me, asking me to buy this. Like, please keep it. And they both said the same thing. And they both had the exact same reaction. Super fresh coin. I don't want this online anywhere. So that just kind of tells you, where the market is these days. By the way, they were both super cool coins, and I'll tell you about them offline. They were really neat. One is like a 1 of 30 it's now 1 of 31 that basically somebody found in their private collection, and they did a walkthrough at Long Beach, and it's a pretty magical one. So, I mean, that's the market we're in right now. Like, dealers are really protective when they get super special stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You kind of have to be, because, it's easier to sell, it's easy to sell great coins right now, but it's hard to find them. Like, I really have to work the phones and be patient with people. And, if they want to, even a lot of times, if they need to acquire something else or they want to venture in another area, then it gives you a little bit more leeway to work with them. But, you have to be really aggressive. And I tried to buy aggressively, we got to rethink about price, because what we think is the selling price is not really the selling price for us anymore. And I'm buying close to those prices and having to mark up over, because the market's got to adjust for what is happening right now. And it's just the economics of our situation.
Yeah, one of the, to your point exactly, one of the kind of two special coins I looked at this weekend, the dealer showed it to me, and, he's just like, look, in this grade, and there just aren't any. Like, the last sale was 1993, or 1994 of a coin in this grade. So, PCGS Price Guide had the thing at, I was like $70,000 for the grade. And he's like, and I paid over that, to buy this coin. He's like, cause like, what does the price guide know? They're just none of these,
right?
They're just not out there. So you gotta do what you can do to get the deals. Another interesting point, speaking of plans for the future, one of the things I spend a lot of time thinking about, I'd actually love to hear your thoughts on this, is, we are in a bull market right now. It's fun. It's great going to a show and having, a line at your table and leaving a show with holes in your case because people have bought all these great coins, which, by the way, creates a whole problem. Now you have to go and refill them. Yeah. But I've heard a lot of dealers say things like, I don't even look at the price that I pay. I just pay market, because I know that in a month it'll be worth 10% more, and I'll just sell in a month and make money there. And that frightens me tremendously because, it's the same attitude of, I'll buy this stock at any price because tomorrow stocks only go up. And as we've learned from history, that's not true. Stocks don't only go up, and the coin market doesn't only go up. As people learned painfully in the summer of 1989. Right. Although I was naively not really paying attention to that, but I know what happened. Yeah. So one of the things I spend a lot of time thinking about is, enjoying the fact that we're in this wonderful bull market, but also thinking about what it is going to be like to be in this, hobby / business when we're not in a raging bull market, when the things change, when next month, the price of a 1909 SVDB is less than it was this month. Right. And so I'm curious to hear how you think about that, in your planning and in your inventory and everything that you do.
Well, just being through different cycles of the market and seeing it all really from a kid up until now, like just being in great coins. Mm-hmm. So really exceptional stuff, rare choice. That's what sort of saves the day. And I think the market dynamics now, although we are getting into a bull market, I think there's room to go for this. And then it's all going to depend on how much outside people come in. Like what happened, what you're referring to in the late 80s and early 90s is Wall Street got involved in coins.
Right.
And hedge funds came in a big way. And that there is some of that to a certain extent, but not like it was in the late 80s and early 90s. So there was just a lot of money that just pumped up the whole industry at that time. So now I think what you're seeing is like, I notice right now it seems to be the registry guys going after top registry coins. They just want that 68 or they want that 69 if they exist, and they're paying high premiums just to get the top sort of set. So there's that going on, and then the overall prices trying to come up in the price guides and people wanting the coins, having money to spend on the coins. So it's starting a bull market, but I don't think the dynamics are quite the same. Now, if I see, major other industries like the financial industry start to come into coins, then I think the prices will get really accelerated, and that's where the danger comes in. Like, because
the other thing
they don't really care about the coins, and they're once they figure out that the investors are going to get angry or we need to liquidate or something like that, they'll jump. Right. They'll dump a huge collection on the market all at once just to get out, and then we see like a downward spiral happen, like what happened.
Really, that's interesting. And that's a really interesting thing to keep an eye on. One thing I'm keeping my eyes open for, I don't follow the sports card market at all. But what I am seeing in the little glimpses of it that I do see through Instagram ads, through startups that I know that are getting involved, is a lot of venture-backed companies getting into that market. And that's one of those areas, you probably get the ads on Instagram.
Yeah, I would be very wary about sports cards right now.
Exactly. Yeah. I get ads on Instagram for, buy a share of this valuable sports car card. And then there's other markets that are building like liquid online marketplaces trying to compete with
NFTs.
No, that's a whole different topic that we could spend an hour talking about. But that perfect example, right? When you see sort of venture money getting in and buying up inventory for speculative reasons,
it's never a good sign.
Never a good time. I'm getting ads for sports card industry conferences that have DJs and club, come see this, you get invited to the exclusive after party when you buy the VIP package. When the Long Beach Expo starts offering, tickets to the VIP after party, then we got to worry,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the VIP after party,
going back to circling Fridays, back, you don't see that in coins. Yeah. You just don't, it's all behind the curtains. And when great coins come there's people waiting in the wings, real to buy, because they know, they know what that coin is really worth. They know that they're probably going to pay high, but they don't feel they're going to pay high, and they're probably not paying high. That's the thing, why would you rather have a great early American coin, or are you going to buy, you're going to spend $1 million, you're going to spend $6 million on a lower tier, small scale, like de Kooning.
Right. Yep.
Great work of art. Don't get me wrong. But the scale, the significance of it, there's just, I don't know. There's room for growth, I think, and there's room for this market, still plenty of room for this market to go up. It's easy for us, like if you're in the coin world of things, like it's hard for us to see that, because I even have to fight my thinking sometimes to be like, I think some dealers, like in myself including, we tend to get pessimistic sometimes, like, oh, the prices are getting high, because we've seen prices low for so long, So,
and speaking of getting pessimistic, I found myself psyching myself out recently on, when bidding in auctions. There have been a few moments because, prices are going up and up and up. And I found myself having this weird reverse psychology where I see something that's a good price And in fact, if I see a bunch of things at a good price at a given auction, I've said to myself, I said, why is nobody, last week when I bid, I lost all my bids, and this week I'm winning. The market's turning like crap. Like I'm the
interesting,
sucker.
Interesting. Okay.
Like
if you don't mind me asking, what auction was it?
Oh, these are all, this was, I'm thinking of Great Collections on one thing specifically,
okay,
but there was another auction. This happens a lot, I'm on a lot of the different auctions. So.
Okay. So with like something like Great Collections that does auctions so frequently, that, you could find good opportunities because
Always.
it gets lost in the sauce sometimes. Like when you're doing so many auctions, that's when things can fall short because they're not really marketed appropriately. It's not like this big built up auction like a Regency sale that Legend does or something like that, or Heritage, even though there's great coins there, which that's a whole other thing. How you find great coins is one little tip and secret is to see the coins in hand.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
100% agree.
Yeah. So if you're bidding in a big sale, I would recommend flying to wherever the sale is and then looking at each individual coin that you're interested in bidding on and seeing it in hand. Because if the pictures don't accurately show the coin and it looks phenomenal in hand, sometimes you're going to win coins. And I'm an active bidder, and I love the Legend sales, and Heritage, of course, Stacks has got great sales. There's just, there are opportunities in the bigger sales, but there's also a lot of opportunities in these smaller companies, like, not that they're small, but, more frequent, the auction houses that focus on more frequent auctions, like Great Collections or even High Bid or something like that.
Yep. I think there are opportunities abound, and I agree with you, by the way, on looking at coins in hand. One of the best coins that I have, without question, gets the most attention in my case. It's in 1873 seated half. I've posted a picture of it a while ago. Proof 66 plus star ultra cameo. I love the label too, by the way, because it's just got a lot going on to it, and it is black and white mirrors. I mean, it is a magical coin. Does not have a CAC sticker. Interestingly, there's a very, very light smudge on the reverse that I think kept it back. But I bought that in a Legend sale. And I bought it because I had a friend go to the sale, and I told him, like, look, I'm looking at proof seated halves, pick one out that's awesome. And he went through, this is a bunch of sales ago, and he went through all of them, and he's like, look, this one, even though it doesn't look like it in the picture, is head and shoulders above all the other coins in this sale. He's like, and it doesn't have a CAC sticker, but it doesn't matter because the coin is spectacular. So bid on this coin. And I bid on it, and I won it. I think I got it at a great price.
That's awesome.
It was a great coin. I'm frankly not in any rush to sell it because it's one of those marquee coins that draws so much attention just sitting in my case that I love having. It's like almost marketing for me. I'll be sad when I sell that coin, honestly. So I have it priced obnoxiously high because I'm not really in a rush to sell it because I get such good marketing.
If someone wants it, they'll pay it, right?
Exactly. But that is a perfect example of, I think one of the reasons why I won that coin was the pictures weren't that great. It did not have a CAC sticker. And so people assumed that it just wasn't as special a coin.
Right.
But seeing it in hand, we're like, this is magic. And the only reason I was able to know that is because he physically, this was at one of the sales, he was there, he reported back to me and he said, it's a great coin.
Very important. That see the coins in hand, man, it gives you an advantage because a lot of people don't get that opportunity. They're sitting in front of the computer, bidding. Yeah. I
did that with at Long Beach. I went down and looked at the heritage lots, and I was really interested in there's like 20 lots or so that I looked at. I really wanted to buy a high relief, an 07 high relief. So I looked. There's 10 or 15 of them in that sale. So I went downstairs at the show, looked at all of them, and actually didn't like most of them. I honestly didn't like most of them. And there was one that I really liked, and I did not win it. I was sad about that, but I was really close. Like I was high bidder, and it was like 5, 4, 3, 2, and I was sitting there. I remember where I was. I was on the treadmill at the gym watching the auction, and I was like, "Oh my god, am I about to win a $40,000 coin?" Like it was 5, 4, 3, 2, and then somebody bid the last second and beat me. And so that was one of those like I was both sad and a little bit relieved.
It's a mixed feelings, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, I got to cough up, but it's great coin.
Yeah.
And then when you lose it, for sure. No,
Yeah.
I know those are amazing coins. And oddly enough, like in that price range, I've had a great success with selling those pieces.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think they're, I had a great piece of advice from a coin dealer who told me, he said, the two coins that I have been able to move, the two over $10,000 series of coins that are the most liquid, he said, are 1907 high reliefs and 1856 flying eagles. He's like, I will buy as many 1856 flying eagles as I can. He's like, because no matter what, I always sell them. There's always a collector looking to add one to their set.
Yeah. Key dates too. Key dates.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's
Speaking
great.
of which, you just reminded me, I'll tell you, I'm going to call back to a point I was making earlier in terms of personal collecting. I'm going to work on a typeset that a friend told me about, that he met a dealer who did like a Dansko 77 or some variation of it, but he only did ultra key dates for every series. And it took him 20 years to build it.
Oh yeah.
But, he had a 1916 Sailing Liberty quarter. He had an 1877 Indian. He had his 1909 SVDB. And then he had a 1955 double dot, all the like classic mega rarity typeset. And I think that sounds like a really fun project to work on.
It's a great idea, man. Honestly, I think that's good. Because
I'm going to do it with details coins because they're all going to be at a typeset. So that's me being a cheapo.
Yeah. So that's interesting. You said that. I would go with then if I were you.
Yeah.
If I was trying to do it on a budget, I would go with low grades. I would not go.
Interesting. That's
I would not
idea.
do details.
Yeah.
I never. Yeah.
Interesting. That's a good idea. I haven't really thought this through yet, but that might be fun also. Like get like a AG or good, version of all the ultra rarities.
Yeah, because there's versions of those coins where you could still see the coin, and I mean it's there as long as it's identifiable. That's that coin. I think it's acceptable.
That might be more. That might be a better idea.
And it's genuine. It's a real coin. Like it's not like chemically enhanced. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not concerned. The details sort of kills it for me.
Oh, I know. I don't want to have, I own like 2 details coins and holders right now. And they anger me and I want to not own them anymore. So I'm with you. I'm not a fan. By the way, I see some dealers super interesting. Like there's some dealers love it. Like they just love making market details coins. I don't know.
I get it. Like, okay, it's more affordable and then they look cool, I guess. Do you know what I mean? Like if you could sit there and appreciate and see more of the coin, I guess that's what they like. They like it because it's flashier and then it's, more affordable.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it like what it says to me is like, my experience is like, they're toxic, which is like, 9 out of 10 people will be like, not interested in details coins. So like, I don't want to be in business in a product that is, that is hard to sell. Basically.
Yeah. That it's like a 10th or 1/20th of the price, right?
Yeah.
About details.
I mean, I don't care if it's cheaper, right? Like if nobody wants to buy it at any price,
what's the point?
Just
I think you're better off, dude. I think it's a great idea, but I think you're better off in getting the lower grade and then going that route.
Suggestion. I like your suggestion.
Well, cool, man. So that's good. So are you gonna eventually do web stuff, or are you gonna just keep selling coins at shows, or what's next?
Absolutely need to do web stuff. I would be disrespecting my own nerddom and technology if I were not to do that. So nice. I think for sure that's in my future. And then, I want to continue investigating and researching and learning, some of the kind of, crazy data problems in this business and learning about it, because everything, we didn't really dig into it too much, but everything you said is right. Cool. It's hard to get data. The data that's out there is messy. And I'm fascinated by the problem. I want to learn more about different series. I want to kind of, dive in even better. And I really want to kind of advance things in that way, go deep on that. But, I think tech focus is an area that I'm really, really interested in. I really want to see where there are opportunities where I can push the boundaries of technology in the industry. I think there are a lot of opportunities in the coin world.
Yes. That's cool to hear you say that, man, because we need people like you, you know?
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just think there's a ton of opportunity, and I'm not saying I'm not going to launch a competing auction site. You know, I think Great Collections is awesome. You know, I'm not looking to do that kind of stuff. I just think there's a lot of like tech opportunities as somebody who's in the business of buying, selling, and collecting. So I'm exploring, finding better ways to sell. I think that there's just, I think some of the even on Instagram, where you and I found and met each other that way, and I think a lot of people have as well. I think there's just like people aren't using it nearly to its capacity to as a platform.
Yes,
and I think that, there's SEO. I think there's like 5 dealers on the planet that have their SEO optimized in a good way. So I just think there's like tons of opportunities.
Well, that's a whole other thing, right? Like. I mean, the larger auction houses do it well because they have a lot of content and stuff like that. But then having a legacy site, I think Google quantifies that too, how old the site is.
Oh, absolutely. Like whether you're mobile, whether you're mobile
as far
support.
As how well maintained most of the people in our industry are the sites, and there's probably a lot of broken link stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of that going on, but I don't know if that. I mean. The main thing is I think we gotta get more people in to get the message out there, get more people educated on coins, because that's huge. Most people have no idea about it. Like they don't know the dynamics of the coin market. They don't realize what the significance of these pieces are and then what they're selling for. I think just getting more attention, doing this type of stuff like the podcast, and then also looking at other opportunities like what you're trying to do, like from adding more technology into the industry. I think that's also very cool. Like if you're super into it, I think, and then if you start this as like focusing it as a problem and having this sort of intellectual pursuit, and over time, you may stumble onto something really incredible that adds a lot of value to our industry. You just,
Yeah. I mean, that would be amazing and fun. And I'm kind of constantly keeping my eyes open for where there are opportunities, given the amount of time I spend on this stuff, which unfortunately it's, evenings and some weekends. That's the other challenge that I run into.
Well, and then, and as far as coins, like it's just, think of your brain like an algorithm. Like the more coins you see, your eyes get trained. You know what I mean? If you've seen so many of a type series, eventually you're like, oh, this one's good, this one's not. Yep. Your brain learns over time. Like just the more of a specific series you could get your eyes in front of, the better you're going to be at it.
I actually, to your point, one of the things that I try to do at shows, there's two, I'm trying to train myself to spot clean coins and artificial tone. So I actually ask, when I see some of these dealers who have lots of details coins, I actually ask to look at them because I want to train my eye to understand what a good coin and what a bad coin is. And it's hard. It's hard. That's the area where I'm the worst. I basically stopped buying raw coins because I'm bad at it, and I will get better at it.
No, you will. It's just over time. Your brain has to see and see and see, and then it's that repetition.
Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah. You start, I mean, even as it is, I think my basic grading has gotten better over even the past couple months, where, what it used to be, I would have to pull up everything and look at photo grade and compare everything. And now my kind of intuition for basic grading. But
have you ever taken the grading course at A&A?
I did when I was a kid.
Did you really?
A summer seminar. It was, I got the YN scholarship to the summer seminar, and I think it was 91 or 92. I don't remember what year it was. And I took the intro to grading. I took a cherry picking class with the two original authors, Bill Fiva and JT Stanton. I remember that was a highlight of summer seminar, that cherry pickers class. But I remember all that. And it was wonderful. And I'd like to do it again. I was even browsing the summer seminar this year. I think some of the grading classes.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to do. It's very cool. You learn a lot, and those guys are really good. The instructors usually at A&A are very good. Hello?
Oh, yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I'm going to make sure. So that's awesome. So how can we find you online?
Okay, so probably the easiest way is Instagram, which is at Numismattack, which is my weird handle that I came up with when I was sitting in the parking lot of a coin show and I needed something kind of punny. So Numismattack is my Instagram handle. And you can actually go to numismattack.com, which will lead you to my coming soon page on my little blog, which will eventually, when I launch, that'll be that. And then the other way to find me is come to some of the Bay Area coin shows. I'm at Long Beach, table 808 at Long Beach, which is awesome. And I love, I've actually had a couple people come by and from the internet, people I met on Reddit and Instagram, come by the show and introduce themselves and say hi. It was really fun. And then I do all the Bay Area shows, Sunnyvale, Sacramento, Concord, Walnut Creek. It's all really fun. So I'm always happy to say hello to people and hang out and talk. I'm not yet a cranky old dealer where, I don't want you hanging around my table. I love talking about this with other coin people. It's really fun. And it's a highlight of going to the shows, actually.
Well, that's awesome, man. It's great having you. It was a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you at the future shows. And not only that, we definitely have to get together sometime outside and have coffee after a hard day's work at a trade show.
We absolutely need to do that. And we will make sure I will be at Long Beach for the July 4th weekend one that's coming up. So we'll make sure to hang out then.
Perfect. Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it, man.
All right, great. And I'm actually hopping off right now to go do an Instagram live sale.
Good for good for you. If any of you, well, this is going to air after the fact, but
great. No, that's fine.
I'll definitely take a look at it for sure.
Cool. All right, man.
Thank you. Well, good luck on the sale. Take care.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.